Welcome to Winning STL, where we have conversations about how St. Louis can best compete and win in the battle for talent, jobs, growth, and equity. Winning STL is presented by Purina, who creates richer lives for pets and the people who love them, and has proudly called St. Louis home since 1894. Joining me today is Jason Hall, CEO of Greater St. Louis, Inc., an organization working to create jobs and grow the region by fostering inclusive economic growth. I should note I'm a member of Greater St. Louis and a proud supporter of their work. Jason, thanks so much for joining.
It's great to be with you this morning.
I thought we'd start maybe with a quick overview of on Greater St. Louis, how and why it came about, and maybe, that it's not a coincidence that we're in the Andrew C. Taylor Center for Civic Collaboration.
A great story there. I think as this region was staring down the future, we're going through the pandemic, what do we want the future to look like in St. Louis? I think it is not a surprise that we've coming off a couple of decades of basically flat growth. We needed to get ourselves organized, get this region together, and start prioritizing how we're going to build an even brighter future that's more prosperous and more inclusive for the region. That was really, at the end of the day, why people came together to form Greater St. Louis. I think we have an amazingly accomplished business leader and civic leader in Andy Taylor. He was asked by his peers to be the figure to bring us together and unify this region around its first plan for growth in over a decade. And the board of directors of Greater St. Louis, Inc. said when we were building out this new office space, let's name that in honor of the person that really helped unify us and bring us together.
And Jason, there was obviously a need for this. The business community, from my opinion, was not speaking with one voice, advocating for the same things. I'm guessing you agree with that.
Yeah, the region was really organized from a business perspective, right? Which is an important stakeholder group that needs to work with lots of other stakeholders to build a prosperous and inclusive community. We were so fragmented. I mean, there were more business groups here, and it made it very difficult to convey what are the priorities? How do we start working together? Who does the public sector work with from the business community in an organized way? We made it very difficult. So a pretty basic idea that high growth regions around the US, like Columbus and Charlotte and others that we do compete with, look to them and say, what are they doing? How are they working together? And it was clear, the formula pretty simple, be able to speak with one voice, drive with one agenda. And that had been very, very difficult to do. And it was a structural problem in the business community that we needed to solve for.
So Jason, this is the fourth year, I believe, of Greater St. Louis.
Correct.
What would you point to the accomplishments that you think have been most impactful to date?
Yeah, I think there's several. One, getting to usher in an actual jobs plan, an actual set of regional priorities for growing that have broad community buy-in, people working together. Huge accomplishment, even to get people on one page from an agenda perspective. But let's think about some of the points on the board that we've been able to do. This region, and we heard this during the jobs plan, people would often talk about what we used to have as a region rather than what we're going to build for the future. One of those that we heard time and time again was international air service to Europe. And people said, well, we used to have these TWA flights that would take us there. Right. We no longer have that. So, well, if that's a priority, let's work on that. And I think to work in partnership with the public sector to restore nonstop air service for the first time in 20 years on that Lufthansa flight, an extraordinary accomplishment for this community. We know in a time when there are massive federal investments happening, it has been a challenge for this region to come together. Often we spent time competing in the region rather than competing against other regions most effectively. To win the Build Back Better Regional Challenge, one of the first real organizing tests of major metros around the country, a huge accomplishment. Partnering with the public sector, we're proud of that massive win. Thirdly, I would point to the fact that we're getting our confidence back and our ability to close deals. This region had not won a so-called mega project or 1,000 jobs or more at one time in like 2 decades.
Wow.
We won several of those in the first year. And then last year, as you know, going head to head with other markets, the single biggest capital investment coming from the Boeing company, which we call Project Voyager, an over $2 billion investment. I mean, this region is winning deals again that are seeding the growth we've said we've wanted for so long. I am so proud of this region, and I think that we can take that story national, leaning into our strengths. Those are just a few of the things I'm really excited about in just the first few months.
Jason, you mentioned the 2030 jobs plan, and I think if you don't know about it, it might not sound like much. Okay, there's a plan. I think it's kind of a bigger deal than that. Maybe you could help viewers understand why you think it's so important for this region.
Yeah, I think, look, regions grow when they focus on their priorities and lean into their strengths. And you got to write down, what are those priorities? The 2030 jobs plan was the effort that we all undertook together as a community to do just that. And it lays out some pretty important priorities. One, philosophically, not just enough to grow, but we got to work to reduce those barriers that have limited the full participation of everyone in the region in the growth that we're creating. I think that was a huge statement of values of the region, and I think it's proving to be a competitive advantage for this region going forward. Reminding our region that it is a regional priority to grow downtown in the urban core. I think we had lost sight of why the core is so critical to the long-term reputation of the region. That is your talent magnet for the next generation. You bring all your visitors and guests there, that is where they start to form their perception of the region overall. And I think re-elevating downtown as a regional priority, as called for in the jobs plan, absolutely critical. Thirdly, looking at our strengths on industries. Regions tend to rise or fall on a few big industries where you are just globally excellent. And you're seeing some like manufacturing, which some people questioned when we laid that out as a priority in the jobs plan. Fast forward now to a time of massive global reshoring and manufacturing. That is proving to bring home lots of career jobs and big capital investment that's put hard hats to work in the field, that's creating new pathways, big resurgence there. Boeing, General Motors reinvesting $1.5 billion here, now the second largest General Motors production site in North America. That is a big comeback story for this region. And then new exciting opportunities like geospatial. I mean, talk about a region shaping its future, building a new $2 billion National Geospatial Intelligence Agency headquarters in North City, St. Louis. An important win. But what that is doing now to unleash this region as called for in the jobs plan and get the region mobilized on it to build out those industries, the commercial opportunities.
That are connected to this, right?
All connected to it.
And the impact potentially on North City
is massive.
It just seems like, wow, what an opportunity.
And on the whole region overall, defining ourselves as being the place you go globally in an emerging technological industry sector like that is those are the kinds of opportunities you miss. The jobs plan, there's a lot of words in there. It's a great read, but it started to elevate back to what are the fundamentals and what are the strengths we need to lean into and how do we need to do that work to get it going again.
Well, I love that there are, in addition to the core areas like manufacturing, that there's new emerging areas. I mean, advanced manufacturing, geospatial, biotech. I love that we anchor ourselves as a region to these growing fields. It seems like an obvious and a good fit for us.
Real obvious. It's what high growth, best in class markets have done. We just, I think, lost sight of that in the importance of getting those industries organized and leaning into them and building value around them for the long haul. You can't be all things to all people. You got to really focus your civic energy on those strengths. And that's exactly what the jobs plan called for. And candidly, it's exactly what this region is doing now. I'm inspired by what this region is doing to own that set of priorities. A reminder, though, really important, this does not happen overnight. I think we're enjoying some extraordinary momentum, and that's been documented quantitatively. 16th fastest growing metro out of the top 30 in the most recent GDP data numbers. But we've got to play this game for the long haul. You win when you look at those peer markets by sustaining the momentum that we've had, not just for the first 3 years, but over the decades ahead. That's the difference maker. And that's where this region has struggled to keep it together with a long-term focus for a long time. That is the real test of GSL and the real test of this community to win this decade.
Jason, in prepping for this, I learned that you are, I believe, the first member of your family to go to college.
Correct.
And considering the organization that you lead now, that's a pretty remarkable turn, I think. And so it makes me wonder if Greater St. Louis's prioritized stated goal of inclusive economic growth is that personal to you?
It is. I feel so incredibly lucky. I am from this region, grew up in Granite City, Illinois, on the Metro East Side, and was very lucky to be one of the first members of my family to graduate from high school and the first to earn a college degree. And I think I saw what it took. Community supported me. I didn't get to do this alone, obviously, and I benefited probably from everything people have done civically. And I think when you are molded like that, when you are shaped like that in your life, you want to give back, and you want to make sure that more kids like me, or that came from backgrounds that maybe didn't have a full plate of opportunity, have an opportunity to thrive. I am deeply passionate about that. And that is why inclusive development, and that is a centering paradigm for what this region needs to be in the future, it is personal to me. I don't hide that, and deeply committed to it. And there are lots of dimensions about what it means to be cut off from opportunity. We've got to attack all of them. But yes, deeply personal, deeply appreciative for what people gave to me. I just want to give that back to the next generation. And I feel like if more people have an opportunity to thrive, this region is only going to be stronger and more prosperous.
Jason, that seems like a fantastic way to wrap this up. We've covered a lot of ground. I really appreciate it. Love that we're at your facility. It's beautiful. It's kind of inspiring, the views of our future. And so I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.